What is going on, guys? This is Gene Jensen, and it is time for another Friday Night Live. What is up? How's everybody doing today? Goodness, I'm exhausted. I'm going to try to make it through this one. Been fishing all day, and it's been a lot of fun. Caught a few fish today and enter them into the Georgia monthly challenge, the KBF monthly challenge tournament that I'm currently fishing right now. I'm not going to be anywhere near the lead, so those guys who have like 103 inches, don't worry about it. I'm not even close. But anyway, finally got a chance to get the kayak out in the water and go fishing. But I'm tired and I'm sore. So, and I just stuffed down a hamburger and some chicken. So bear with me. What's going on, Kathy? How you doing? She says she needs to learn about Rocky Mountain. Well, that's where I was fishing today. I promise you, the fish are in the water, guaranteed. Oh goodness! But welcome everybody. Hey, Rich, Northern Pike, what's going on? Preston, how you doing, man? Oh, what's going on? WB Jones, Kathy Matheny, what's up? What's up? What's up? Arlen, what's going on? Dave Neal, how you doing? Goodness, we'll let some folks jump on here, and then we're going to talk a little bit of business about this giveaway, kind of tell you guys a little bit more about it. And those who haven't entered it, go ahead and do that. It's the links in the description of this video. We pay to get you to Rome. We put you up in a hotel for 2 nights. You get to go fishing with me on a Saturday or on a Friday, depending. That's all flexible. We're going to try to do it at the end of May. If they lift all these, whatever they want to call it, all these, anyway, my mind's blank. You can tell I'm tired. When they lift all these restrictions, we'll be able to do it. And but we're shooting for the end of May, and that's my favorite time of the year to fish. Anyway, we're gonna slay them, and you'll be part of a YouTube video. So, and it will not be kayak fishing. We'll be in the big boat. Just easier to film in the big boat than it is to have 2 separate kayaks running around, because I'm not gonna have a film crew. So, but anyway, and one thing they wanted me to remind you guys is, yeah, you've got to put in your phone number and your email address. They're not going to give that away to anybody. They're just afraid that you guys aren't entering the contest because you think that they're going to sell your information. The only thing they need that for is to get a hold of you when you win. That's it. So it's a good, reputable nonprofit that's doing this, Georgia 811. I really appreciate them and all that they've done this month. They're sponsoring this whole entire month of Flukemaster YouTube, and they're going to pay for you guys to come fish with me. So how cool is that? Eric says, I've been wondering for a while, the G on your hat, what does it stand for? That is a Georgia Bulldog hat. University of Georgia hat is what it is. So am I designing baits? I am, and I'm not. I haven't sent any out to anybody yet. But what I'm doing is I'm helping 13 fishing test and helping them design baits. So anything that comes out, or a lot of things that are coming out in the next year or two, are going to have a little bit of my fingerprint on it. So, but anyway, yeah, the link's down in the description, you guys, if you want to win a chance to fish with me. The other thing that you can do is, if you go to flukemaster.com and buy any of the Flukemaster apparel, mugs, whatever we have over there, you get 10% off by using the code FishWithFluke811. So that's another thing that George 811 has done for us. So, all right, let me catch my breath. I left all my drinks and everything else upstairs, so I don't have anything to drink today. But let's go ahead and talk fishing. Oh, and if you guys want to catch this thing after, later on, you're on the road or whatever, I've got my podcast is out there, Flukemaster Fishing. It's real easy to find, and I just take what we talk about here and put it on my podcast. So, and as Kathy says, y'all go hit the like button. All right, let me get caught up. We're going to start some Q&A here. What's going on, Sean? Hey, David Ball, what's going on, man? Let's see. Where did that comment go? Here it is. Fluke, what's your favorite paddle tail swim bait and hook? I fish Gunnersville 90% of the time. I am a fan of the Strike King Rage Swimmer, and the hooks I use, I usually use a Strike King jig head, one of the big ones, because I like to use the big swim baits. But it all depends on what I'm doing. I've got like 7 or 8 different types of swim bait hooks that I use. Some for when I'm fishing thick grass, some for when I'm fishing wood, some for when I'm dragging the bottom. It just all depends. There's so many different styles out there. So, and I've got and there's none of them are the same brand. They're all different. So, let me tell you about fishing in late May, Billy. On this lake, that's when all the bass are done spawning. They have moved offshore, and I sit there with a big worm or a big bull shad and absolutely wail on giants. So that's the hope, is that we'll be able to get out there. The bass will be sitting right where they're supposed to be sitting. There's like 10 different spots, maybe 12 that we can hit and have a chance of catching some really good giants, which is a lot of fun. So, oh, Preston, the red N would look better. They don't win games. Georgia doesn't win championships, but we win games. Oh, poor Nebraska. What's up, Jamie Broad? What's going on, man? What would be a good tip to throw a flank? I don't know. I like flank steak. That's a lot of fun. What's my favorite size fluke? The super fluke is my favorite size. Just your regular 5 inch is what I love, or 6 inch, however long it is. What's going on, Billy Rodriguez? Bill, I just read your comment asking me about the sticker on my truck. Yes, it is on the spot where I put the free stickers. Florida pond fishing, I use worms for choppy water and a popper for choppy water with some success. Is there any benefit to swapping the popper to a frog if I don't get it snagged and covered? Yes. Down in Florida, I like to use what they call toads. Now, topwater frogs are the hollow body ones with the hooks, and we've started to call the soft plastic ones that have the kicking legs, started calling them toads because of the Zoom horny toad, which was one of the originals. And so the toads work a whole lot better covering water down in Florida, getting it through that grass and stuff like that. So, favorite soft plastic from 13 Fishing. Gonna buy some. Just wanted your opinion on which you recommend. My favorites for a trailer is the Jerk. For just a straight tail worm, that BFF was really surprising how good it was. It's called the Blunt Force Finesse, but I didn't expect it to be as good of a shaky head worm as it was. It just really has a lot of buoyancy to it, and it really has a lot of action to it. So it's kind of that middle of the road, a lot of flex, but a lot of buoyancy, because a lot of times you get those that are really floaty, but they're really stiff. This one's not. And it was really cool to be able to catch a bunch of fish on it. So the other one is oh my gosh, I forgot the name of it. What is the name of it? Man, they got so many crazy names. The Invader. The Invader is my favorite flipping bait. That thing, it gets in and out of cover really easy. That's the reason why I like it. So, a trailer is always mentioned for chatterbaits and spinner baits. Is there ever a time you recommend not using a trailer for those? I don't use a trailer for spinner baits. I can count on one hand how many times I've used a trailer for spinner baits. But chatterbaits always need a trailer. And like I said, that little Jerk that that 13 Fishing came out with has become a really good one for me. And I figured out that it was a good one completely and totally on accident, because I ran out of my Rage swimmers and had to pull something out of the box, and that was the only thing I had that matched the chatterbait I was using, and then they freaking wrecked it. So my 9-year-old enjoys your videos. When should I start him with a bait caster? He is a pretty good little fisherman now. Start them as soon as as soon as you can. It's not hard. Go watch the video where I taught my nephew how to cast a bait caster, and use those little tricks, and you'll be able to do it. He'll be able to do it in no time. If he can throw a baseball, he can cast a bait caster. If I win the contest, I'll be happy to get Gene a real hat. Scarlet and gray. Oh my gosh, you guys. Goodness gracious. What ramp would you use at Gunnersville to kayak fish? I don't know. I don't know what's open. I don't know what's closed. I've been fishing 10 minutes down the road from my house since they closed everything up. So you'd have to get on the Gunnersville Facebook page and figure out which ones are open. What do you think about round fishing platforms? I think they're really weird. They're super stable. I know some guys who have fished in it, and I know a couple of the guys who promoted it real hard when they first came out. They're just really weird. I don't know. Hey, Gene, hello from California. Man, I would love to win this trip. All of my local lakes are closed. I'm dying. I bet you are. Oh, I'm so sorry for you guys whose governors have gone crazy and lost their ever-loving mind and closed up fishing. I'm sorry. I'm glad Georgia hasn't done that yet, and I don't think they're going to. If a Florida fan wins, could you throw them in the lake? East Ohio fishing. That was hilarious. I may have to. Just got to make sure they swim and sign the waiver. Hey, Gene, how's it going? I just bought a Feel Free Lure 10 V2 fishing kayak. Thanks, stimulus. Oh, goodness. I don't know what I'm going to do with my stimulus money. I don't even think I'm getting it. I don't know. That's not even, doesn't even concern me. Probably put it in the bank or give it to somebody who needs it worse than I do. Let's see. I was going to do something. I can't remember. Oh, and I remember. Okay. It's a one-man show. I'm not reading Jamie Broad's comment. I don't know what he says. Have you ever fished Old Hickory in Tennessee? I don't think I have. I've wanted to, but I just haven't done it. What's my personal best? 10 pounds, 12 ounces. I've caught 2 over 10 pounds in my lifetime. Gonna try smallmouth fishing on Susquehanna tomorrow. Can't wait. That's awesome, William. Good luck. Have fun. Be safe. Biggest thing is be safe. I'd like your top 3 chatterbait trailers out in, please. Okay. David Neal, my top 10 chatterbait trailers, or my top 3 chatterbait trailers. 13 Fishing the Jerk, the Strike King Blade Minnow, and the Strike King Rage Swimmer. And the Rage Swimmer is one of those things that the chatterbait kills the action of that tail, but sometimes they like that fatter body for some reason, and they'll hit it. But it's usually the Blade Minnow or the Jerk. So that's typically the only things I put on it. Let's see. When it comes to line, green versus clear, does it matter? It usually doesn't. I've always fished green or gray. I fished this Isoline gray for the longest time and thought it was green. So it's for me, it has never really mattered. Now, when you get in that super clear water, you're going to want to go to fluorocarbon eventually. I know it sometimes can be a little bit difficult to control, but definitely you want to try some fluorocarbon. Sean Accord, if you could only use one bait to catch bass, what would it be and why? Can't say a fluke. It wouldn't be a fluke. It'd be a straight tail worm. It would literally be a straight tail worm, like the BFF, like a trick worm, that kind of stuff, because there's so much you can do with it, and it always catches fish. I caught a fish on one today. So just a simple little plain straight tail worm. Cynthia says, hey, Fluke, can you put a post on Fish Brain? No. I'm not a fan of Fish Brain. I've heard too many not so good things about them. Let's see. Write a song about fishing and sing it to us. Duke, I was talking to my son about this the other day. One of the hardest topics to write a song about, and it sound appealing, is fishing. Because if I wrote a song about fishing, it would be a love song, and you wouldn't even know I was talking about fishing. You'd think I was talking about some girl. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It just doesn't seem right. So I've been singing old Brad Paisley's song about fishing for the last 2 weeks. It drives my son nuts. The water level in the canals I normally fish has gotten very low, and the weeds are really thick. What lures would you recommend? I was thinking about that on the water today. I've got a problem on my lake. Rocky Mountain has this filamentous algae. I call it angel hair, and you can't get it off your baits, and it always gets on your baits. And you've really got to figure out what lures work best for that situation. And I went to a drop shot and started catching them. That's because they could keep the bait out of that nasty grass. And so you got to think to yourself, what lures can you fish to keep them out of that nasty grass or keep them out of the type of grass you're fishing? So topwater frogs, buzz frogs, maybe a spinnerbait if there's a little bit of open water and it's submerged grass. Just look at what you've got and think of what lures will come through that efficiently, and you'll catch fish on them. Hope that helped. Do you prefer fishing in North or South Georgia? What is the difference between the two? There's no preference either way for me. I like it where I like the water where it's wet, and I like the water where it's got fish in it, and I just love to go fishing. So North Georgia, South Georgia really doesn't matter. The difference between the two is North Georgia's got more highland reservoirs, and South Georgia's got more natural style, real shallow lakes. So did I see Tackle Junkie 81's new boat? Yes, I did. And let me tell you something. I know Jimmy, old Tackle Junkie. And in 8 years, if he's still got that boat, it's going to look just like it did when he got it off the showroom floor. That son of a gun takes care of his stuff. He is so OCD when it comes to that, and I love it. I was so impressed with his tracker and how well he kept it for as many years as he's had it. I accused him of not fishing out of it. That's what I did. So, hey Gene, how's it going? Haven't fished in a week. Due to back injury, hit it hard next week. Yeah, man, be safe. I got to get my arms healed. I got tendonitis in my right hand or my right elbow. It's tennis elbow. And so I started casting my left hand and hurt my wrist because I wasn't used to that motion with my left hand. And it hurts to fight a fish right now. So let's see. Hey, Fluke, I'm having a contest of my own. Winner gets a chance to let me come down to Georgia and fish with them on their boat. You should enter. Oh, that's funny. Hey, boss, what are your thoughts for catching bass in 45-degree lakes? 45 degrees, I'm throwing a jig and a jerkbait along 45-degree banks or steeper banks is what I'm doing, and looking for rock and something that's going to warm up before anything else. Let's see. Hey, Gene, hope you're staying safe. Can't wait to win the fishing trip with you. That's awesome, Jeff. Appreciate it. Ooh, I'm getting heartburn. I ate way too fast to get down here and to get this thing going. What's a good bait to use now in Tennessee on Lake Chickamauga? I got a buddy who contacted me, last week and said and asked, what he should do, gave me the conditions over it. That chick said the water was falling and stuff like that, and I told him to grab a lizard and start dragging it out in about 5 to 7 feet of water, and he sent me back a picture of 3 giants that he caught. So a lizard, anything that's going to be kind of something that's going to, the bass are going to have to defend their beds from, but I usually throw like a Magnum Zoom lizard. So what lures do you go straight braid on? Frogs, punching, heavier Texas rig, which is basically a punch rig, and that's it for that's 100% of the time. Topwater frogs, punching, in a heavy Texas rig, and I'm throwing into heavy cover, and then jigs and stuff like that. It all depends on the cover that I'm fishing and the water clarity and that kind of stuff. So let's see. Do you notice any problems with the wood extension on your transducer? Just put one on my Helix 7 for my Radar 115. Problems such as wood rot? No, just the biggest, what I did with mine is I took some Thompson water seal, and so let it dry. If you've gotten it wet already, let it dry real good, and then paint it with some Thompson water seal. You can get a little can of it at the hardware store, and you should be just fine. It just seals out all the water. So I don't use that one anymore, but that's what I did. So have you ever fished the Susquehanna? I have not. Isaac, what bait do you fish on a cold day with a slow bite, decent sized lake in Kentucky, majority of bass of 15, 20 inches? I usually drag a jig, but I'll go smaller if it's just been a really slow bite. FRG, thanks for the $5, man. I really appreciate it. It says, how do you win the trip? I'll pay. Click on the link down in the description. It takes you to Georgia 811. Enter the contest. Don't be afraid to leave your name, your phone number, and your email address. That's just so we can get a hold of you if you win. They're not going to sell your information. But yeah, just click on that link down in the description of the video, and you can definitely have a chance to win it. And then just follow all the directions. There's like 15 or 20 different ways you can enter, and so you can have 20 or 30 different entries, or 15 or 20 different entries. So floating worms, what type of hook? I just launched a floating worm video this past week. The hooks that I use are usually really light wire Gamakatsu EWG worm hooks, or they're called G finesse hooks is what they're called. But I just like them because they're hard to bend out, yet they're really light wire, so they're easy to set the hook. Let's see. Can you use a jig to throw in lily pads? You can. But James, what you got to do is you got to throw it in, let it sink down, and pull it back out. Throw it in, let it sink down, shake it a few times, bring it up, but you're not going to drag it through lily pads. You're going to throw it, and it's going to be a vertical presentation. So Zach Wilson, I just love to North Carolina. I'm in the Marines. I can't catch fish in brackish water here. I've been using live bait trying to catch something. Any suggestions? I'm desperate. A white spinner bait and a black and blue worm are my two favorite colors and favorite things to throw in that nasty brackish North Carolina water. I used to guide in it, so that's the first two things that I would throw if you just have to catch a fish. I have tennis elbow in both arms. Do you have a band on the arms? Yeah, I use the band. I got a shot this last week, and now I just got to do my physical therapy, and then I've got to stop fishing for a while, which is going to be tough. I may have to wait till fishing slows down. Let's see. Can you do any in-depth video on hooks? Sure, that's a good idea. I think I've got it written down for one of my Tackle Tuesdays where I just go in depth into hooks and what I use them for and things like that. I've done it a little bit on a couple of the other videos, but not 100%. I like that. Appreciate your suggestion. Let's see. Have I ever flipped my kayak? I have not. I've jumped out of it. I have almost fallen out of it, but threw myself in the water, and so I wouldn't knock stuff into the water. But I've never flipped my kayak. That Bonafide SS127 is almost impossible to flip. But you will fall out of it. You will. What I had done is I had a radio, and I dropped the radio in the water, and I reached down to pick it up, and just as I reached for it, it started to sink, and so I reached a little too far and got both my shoulders over the side of the kayak. And so instead of trying to fix that and causing stuff that I don't have tied down in my kayak to fall in the water, I just threw myself in the water, turned around, swam after my boat, and then put myself back in my boat. So, and yes, I was wet. Gene, what do you do when your wife says you're using an insufficiently sized fishing lure? That's not my problem. That's funny. What water temp and season would you start using frogs? I usually start about 60 degrees, but it really usually doesn't get good until 70 and then on up, and then throughout the fall when it starts to cool back off. But you can catch them at 56, 55 degrees. But that's just like a special type of, you'll run into it once in a lifetime, I think. So any fluke tips? I got a lot of videos on the fluke. Biggest thing, the biggest tip I always try to emphasize is you've got to run that hook directly down the center line of that bait. If it's off one way or the other, it's going to be you're not going to have the action that you need. So what water temp and season would you start? I already read that one. Sorry. Dude, I was watching one of your old lipless videos, maybe even the Bass Resource one. Let's see. And the hook on your face catching those big, or the look on your face catching those big ones might convince me that's your favorite bait to catch them on. Dude, I love catching them on lipless crankbaits. But that was a special bite in a special place, and they were giants. And it was a lot of fun. And I had figured out that cadence, and it lasted for 2.5 weeks, and I helped 6 college teams qualify for their national championship because of it when they came out there and fished. It was just a lot of fun. So let's see. What's your favorite lures for redfish when you're able to hit the salt water? Brian, you got to stop talking to me about redfish. Let's see. Favorite. I like the dang little black and chartreuse shrimp is all I use on a jig head. That's pretty much and I'll put it under a popping cork if I need to or whatever. It just all depends. So 128 Fishing, thanks for the $5. He says, I love your tips and videos. Just started my channel and wondering if I could get a shout out or if you was to do a collab video. We will talk offline about all that stuff. That's something we do offline. So what do you do to make sure a bass's mouth is closed when measuring on a bump board? I shove that mouth as hard as I can up against that the bump board to get it to close. I had one today that had no upper lip. And so to get it up against the bump board, it was a little tricky. But you just basically hold them snug and then push them up against that bump board and use the bump board to keep their mouth closed. So, because I know, man, they try to open up that mouth and it's like it's spring loaded. Have I done any Colorado bass fishing? Any recommendations? I have not. I've got a good buddy of mine who's an amazing bass fisherman and is a former college national champion. And he just moved to Colorado, so I may end up coming out there in the next couple of years and fishing with him. So what rod action is best for skipping and length working from a kayak? I like around the 6'10" to 7'1". But I skip really well with in a kayak because you're already low to the water. Just don't have that hard of a time doing it. I'll skip a chatterbait up underneath the ox. I'll skip a bunch of stuff. It's just different than being in a boat. So. All right, I got to catch my breath. When am I coming to the New River? I don't know. Gonna kind of stay home for a while. They're starting to cancel. I know they canceled ICAST this year, and I had to cancel a youth kayak trip that I was planning to do off the coast of Georgia. So we're just gonna wait and see how all this coronavirus stuff plays out before I plan on doing anything else. So. Luke Garcia says, hey, Flukemaster, what's your favorite 13 reel to date, and do you ever do any upgrades to your reels? Stay safe out here, buddy. My favorite one's still the Concept A. I don't know, it just fits me, and it fits my budget, and it fits my hand, and I've always loved it. So the Concept A, the only thing I ever suggest doing is buy a couple, 2 or 3 extra spools from their trick shop. I think they're like $30 a piece. And the reason I say that is if you ever want to change out from your expensive fluorocarbon to your expensive braid or vice versa, it's expensive. You lose money when you have to take one off and put new line on. And what I do is I pop a spool and pull another one out of my little spool box and I plop it in, and I go back and forth between, different size fluorocarbons and braid and just change my line out without having to waste that much line, which is really, really key. So Sly Fox Fishing, thanks for the $5. Hey, Gene, is there a time you'd suggest copolymer over fluorocarbon? The main lake I fish is super clear. The only time that I would suggest it over fluorocarbon is when it's super cold, and fluorocarbon does not work well when it's around freezing and below freezing. And the other time is top water. I love copolymer for top water. It's got less stretch than monofilament, so you can get a better hook set, but it still floats enough to be able to fish top water. So, and I'm talking spooks and that kind of stuff, not frogs. So, Sydney Sewell, what are you doing, my sister? Oh, I miss you. She says, I've had the opportunity to fish with Gene several times, and this man knows his stuff. Make sure you put in a submission. You'll have a blast. Thanks, Sydney. Man, oh man, that is I've watched. Sydney had a YouTube channel, started YouTube when she was like 13 years old, and I subscribed to her when she was about 14. I liked the way she did things. It was really cool. But now I've got to watch her get married, and start dating this guy that I wasn't too sure of, and I played the big brother and the whole 9 yards. It was fun. She lives down in Florida. Man, I miss you, Sydney. What's the first trip you think you'll do once all this madness is behind us? Whew, I haven't even thought about that. Probably down to go fish for some redfish in Louisiana. I missed that trip this past year, and I'm wishing I had gone. So, is the 13 Fishing Sport Z any good? Yes, it is. It's pretty good. I only have them in 7-3-1. I don't have any 8-1-1s, which is I'd probably use them more if I had an 8-1-1 gear ratio. But they're really good reels. Let's see. What time is it? Okay, we're 30 minutes in. How would you approach going to a new pond in Florida? What baits would you use, and how would you break down the retention ponds? To be honest with you, I don't take a lot of baits to Florida. I take a black and blue Cinco. I take a June bug Cinco. I take a black and blue Rage cutter worm or June bug Rage cutter worm, and I may take a creature bait in the same two colors, and then that's about it. I fish them super slow in Florida, and I catch fish every time I go. And then in the spring, I'll take chatter baits and moving baits, but most of the time, from now until next spring, I'm going to just take things I can drag and flip into grass and that kind of stuff. So, and I just change the weights. Sometimes I'll use a real light 1/8 ounce sinker, and other times I'll use 1.5 ounces to 2 ounces to punch through some heavy stuff. So, let's see. Eric Reed didn't want to know you were in the shower, but he says, was in the shower, so I missed my question. Coming from Marietta, what part of Georgia are you from? If you pulled up on a bedfish, what is your go-to bait? What part of America? I live in Rome, Georgia. If I pulled up on a bedfish, my go-to bait is I don't like to bedfish. I like to back off and catch the ones that they may or may not be spawning, but they're a little bit deeper that you can't see. It's all I did today, and I caught 7, and nobody else was catching anything. But I typically go to a big lizard first, and I typically will not catch them on that big lizard. They'll pick it up and move it off the bed and drop it. And then I throw something smaller, like a little flipping bait in after them. So, Rod Royal, thanks for the $5. Is this Aunt Jemima's or Mrs. Butterworth's? Neither. I like straight 100% maple syrup. I'm picky when it comes to syrup. I love all natural maple syrup. I had some this last year that I got at a show that had been aged in whiskey barrels, and oh, it was so good. Goodness gracious. Now you know why I'm fat. Should I go with 13 Fishing or Abu Garcia rods and reels? I'm going to tell you, I don't have any opinion on Abu, but with 13, I've always, and the reason I'm still with 13 and the reason I got with them to start with is I really felt like their rods and reels felt and performed better than their price point. So, an $80 rod fishes like a $100 rod. A $100 rod fishes like a $120, $150 rod. I just love that they want to produce the best rods that they can and still keep the price points really low. What knot are you using the most? Almost 90%, 95% of the time I'm fishing an improved clinch knot. So, oh, Matthew Browning, man, I'd love to get the California Delta eventually. Let's see. Have you looked at the new Chase Baits flip-flop thoughts? Nope, I have not. I don't even know what you're talking about. Gene, are you fishing the KBF more heavily when we get back to normal? And what path do you recommend for someone that wants to get into kayak fishing? I'm actually fishing the state challenges right now. I just fished one. Just put my kayak in the water today and caught a real quick limit. But I'm going to get back into, I'm going to get back into the tour part of it when things kick back off. And to get back into kayak or to get into kayak fishing, KBF is a great way to do that. Join KBF, start fishing your state challenges if your state lets you fish right now, and go win some money. I mean, he's putting more money into that right now because that's basically all we can do. So the winners are getting more, and there's getting more incentives to fish it. So it's pretty cool. So, I've been killing it with red everything, worms, creature baits, and crankbaits. Shh. I went through a whole bag of red lizards today. I got to go find some more in my barn. Don't tell anybody. Goodness gracious. Star Crunch or Zebra cakes. I don't no, Michael. I don't eat either of those. Come on, but Star Crunch if I have to. Gotta have the caramel, brother. How are you and your beautiful wife doing? Tips for fishing water temps mid 40s and low 50s. Oh, Michael, I talked to our buddy. We might have something worked out. So just so you know, tips for fishing water temps 40s and low 50s. Jerkbait, jig, and as it gets up in close to 50, start throwing a chatterbait and a lipless crankbait. Go watch my lipless crankbait video, the old one, because that one was done in the high 40s and low 50s. So let's see. What's your go-to pattern for pre-spawn, post-frontal conditions? I had basically, it depends on how far along they are, but really what happens when you have a front move through when it's pre-spawn and they're moving up and heading towards the spawning areas is they just hold tight. So if I get a front that moves through, they're going to hold tight to points and cover and transitions. When I say transitions, if you're going along the bank and you see where it turns from rock to clay or clay to sand, just a change in the bank, it goes out into the water and they'll hang out right there. And you just have to fish a little bit slower, like I would slow roll a crankbait and that kind of stuff. So, all right. Let's see. Kathy Mathany says, don't forget Yak Attack could use help with donations for the PPE efforts. Yeah, I forgot about that. Send some of that government check their way. Yeah, they're really producing a lot of personal protection equipment. So yeah, definitely if you guys can donate a little bit to Yak Attack for that, go to their Facebook page to be able to see that. I haven't been on Facebook for a week. So I got sick and tired of seeing all the bull crap, so I just got off of it. I started teaching my stepdaughter how to cast a bait caster. Any advice? If you haven't seen the video where I taught my nephew how to cast a bait caster, go search for that on my YouTube channel. It's got all the tricks, and I love it, and it works really, really well. And that boy can flat out cast them now. So, what are your thoughts on the 13 Fishing Defy spinning rods? I had a brand new one shatter on me when a wind knot wrapped around it, pretty disillusioned. They are the lower end of their rods, and so they have they're what, $50 rods, something like that. So I don't own any. I haven't fished any unless well, not from their latest model. I have fished the original Defy. I had one of them. And they felt good. They were great, but yeah, they got less expensive stuff. And so when something like a wind knot wraps around a guide, that's a lot of shock to put on a rod. I've blown guides completely out of the wraps on rods when that kind of stuff happens. Braid will tear up a rod, especially when it gets hung on a guide. So yeah, it's pretty tough, and I hate breaking rods, and it happens. I'm sorry, man. Do you think it's okay to bed fish? I think it's okay for people who want to do it. I don't like to do it, to be honest with you. I'd love to back off and catch the fish I can't see. I seem to catch more of them, and I'm not so frustrated trying to get one bass to bite for a half hour to 45 minutes to an hour. So, ever fished the Flint River for shoal bass? I have, Dylan. I got a video on it somewhere. So actually, I think I got 2 videos on shoal bass. What would you think? What would you throw in a heavy pressured pond? A Ned rig on light line on like 6-pound line and fish it really, really slow is what I would do. So, guys, I've really got to get. I'm gonna end this one early. I got really bad heartburn. I should not have eaten so much so fast. I hadn't eaten all day. I skipped breakfast and went out and fished for 8 hours. Then came home and was starved, and so I've got some really bad heartburn, and I can barely breathe. But let me Let me read just a couple more questions. Thank you. I did the tape trick. Problem is she throws like a girl. She just needs to practice. Don't worry about it, man. Let's say red lizards. I tried to click on it. Red lizards. Is that because of the soil color, or do I have to buy more soft plastics just when you think you had everything? It was just one of those things. I had a bag of red lizards. I'd had it in my collection for probably 8 years, and I said, "Hey, I'm going to try these today." Threw them in the box and took them out and it wasn't that I was slaying them on it, because I only caught 7 fish in 7 hours, but it's what I was using. And it's what they bit. So, how shallow would I fish the Carolina rig? I've been known to throw it on the bank and drag it in. And especially this time of the year. That's one of the things I thought about a video idea today, and you'll probably see it. So you guys, but it's about Carolina rigging during this time of the year and in ponds and stuff like that. People think the Carolina rig is only for offshore stuff and in the summertime. It ain't. I threw it up into 1.5 feet of water today, dragging it around. It's just a different way of showing a bass a lure, and it allows them to get a bite of it without feeling the weight if they're a little skittish. So it's one of those things. But all right, guys, I'm going to jump off of here. I'm so sorry that I wasn't able to make this last another 20 minutes, but I'm going to jump in and get some Prilosec. You're right, Rod. I got some upstairs. This was just one of those things. I downed it really fast to get down here on time because my young son, Jordan, wanted to stay out and go fish longer. So, but be sure to enter the contest. Win. I hope one of you guys win. David Fields, thanks for the $50, my friend. Tall, big guy, yeah, man. We'll talk about that. I'm gonna talk to Luther about that too. But anyway, so we'll talk to you later. Thanks, guys, for joining. And like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get out of the water, go out and catch some fish, and have a great day.